All right, today we're diving into the mind of an absolute legend of persuasive writing, Joseph Sugarman. This guy was a marketing genius who could take a simple ad and turn it into a sales machine. And we're going to break down exactly how he pulled it off.
So the first thing you've got to understand about Sugarman is that his methods were all about one thing: results. As Ray Schultz, the editor of Direct Magazine, puts it, this isn't some abstract academic theory. These are real, battle-tested techniques that actually get people to move.
And we're not just talking about effective ads here. We're talking about ideas that were, well, game-changing. The president of a huge company, Faultless Starch, actually wrote to Sugarman telling him his concepts could completely change their entire business model. Now that is serious impact.
And here's the thing that's so cool. His advice isn't dated. It's timeless. The president of Omaha Steaks said that even seasoned pros, the old-timers, could use his ideas to make their regular ads incredibly successful. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or you've been doing this for decades.
So let me just throw this out there. What if you could write something so captivating, so compelling, that your reader is totally hooked from the very first word all the way to the last? That's not just a nice idea, that is the core promise of Sugarman's entire philosophy.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The single most important concept in his whole playbook, he called it the slippery slide.
The slippery slide is it's beautiful in its simplicity. The only job of your headline is to make someone read the first sentence, and the only job of that first sentence is to get them to read the second one. Each part just pulls the reader down the page, creating this momentum that's almost impossible to fight. It's like a gravitational pull. So he designs this journey for the reader. It starts with a headline that grabs you by the collar, drops you right into an irresistible first sentence, and then just smoothly guides you through this flow of logic and emotion, all the way to what feels like the only possible conclusion: making the purchase.
Okay, theory's great, but let's see this thing in action. Sugarman ran an ad for a company called Consumer's Hero. Now imagine you're flipping through a magazine and you see this headline: Buy stolen merchandise? Come on, how could you not read the next line?
And if that headline wasn't enough to pull you in, he doubles down with this guarantee. Not only are you buying something stolen, but it's guaranteed to look brand new and be impossible to trace. The curiosity factor is it's off the charts. You feel like you have to keep reading.
And just like that, boom, you're on the slide. You can't help it. You read that first sentence, and he hits you with the punchline, confirming your suspicions with a little wink. The concept is called stealing. At this point, you are all in, and he can take you anywhere he wants. So we have this slide, but what's the actual engine that's pushing you down it? What keeps you moving forward? Well, for Sugarman, it all boiled down to one powerful human emotion: curiosity.
This is maybe my favorite story about how powerful his writing was. A scientist, someone with zero interest in the product he was selling, wrote him a complaint letter. Why? Because she was angry that she'd wasted 5 minutes of her valuable time reading his entire ad. She literally couldn't stop herself. I mean, that's what happens when you weaponize curiosity.
So the secret sauce here, the technique he used, he called it planting seeds of curiosity. It's all about opening up these little loops, asking questions, starting stories that you don't finish right away. It makes the reader an active participant. They need to find out what happens next.
So if curiosity is the engine, what are the tools he used to build the slide in the first place? Well, he had this whole toolkit of what he called psychological triggers. Let's take a look at a few of the biggest ones. All right, first up, simplicity. And this is a classic. Sugarman ran this incredible test for the Swiss Army watch. He made 2 ads that were almost identical. One ad offered 9 different versions of the watch, 3 styles and 3 colors. The other ad, it offered just one single choice: the classic men's watch in black.
And the results? I mean, they were just staggering. The simple offer didn't just do a little better. It completely demolished the complex one. The ad with just one watch outsold the ad with 9 options by 3 to 1. It turns out simplicity makes it easy for people to say yes. All right, next up, let's talk about exclusivity. And for this, Sugarman tells a great story about himself. He walks into a snowmobile shop. Now, you have to remember, at this point in his life, he already owned 6 of them. There was no logical reason on earth for him to buy another one. The salesman points to this new, fancy, expensive model. Sugarman kind of scoffs at the price, right? And then the salesman just drops this bombshell. Suddenly, this wasn't just a snowmobile anymore. It was a rare opportunity, a collector's item, a ticket to a very, very small club.
And Sugarman's logical brain it shut off. His immediate response? I'll take this one. Just like that. The trigger of exclusivity completely bypassed all rational thought. That fear of missing out, that desire to be part of an exclusive group, it was way more powerful than his actual need.
And that brings us to maybe the most powerful trigger of all, storytelling. See, Sugarman knew that facts and figures are fine, but stories create an emotional connection. He rarely just listed a product's features. He sold an exercise machine by telling a wild story about an embezzler's last wish. He sold his own private jet by explaining it was to help his mechanic buy a farm. These stories gave the products meaning and just completely bypassed our cynical filters.
Okay, so we've got the slide, we've got the engine, we've got the tools. How do we actually put this all together and make it work for us?
It really boils down to this simple framework. The slippery slide, that's your structure. Curiosity, that's the engine that powers the whole thing. And all those psychological triggers like simplicity, exclusivity, and storytelling, those are the tools you use to build it, sentence by sentence, until it's unstoppable.
So the next time you sit down to write, an email, a presentation, anything really, don't just think about the information. Think about the journey. Which really just leaves one last question for you to think about. What's the first sentence of your next slippery slide going to be?